You can't go and tell people I'm not sure. You've got to make a decision and then believe your gut instinct and move on with it. The reason you are here is you add value. The day you stop adding value, your history. I would rather have 10 ordinary people rather than have one superstar. Business is not about one person. Business is about creating a team which is lasting and can deliver in the longer term. That superstar, the minute the superstar is gone, it could fall apart. The day you arrive, your history, because it's a treadmill, you've got to keep on going. Every day when I get up and go to work, it's like today you've got to add something to the business. Walk into a restaurant, sit down and ask for a Coke, and the person says there's no Coke, there's Pepsi. So it is availability which makes all the difference.
Sunil, good morning and welcome to Qunba.
My pleasure to be here.
It's an absolute honor and delight to have you in season 3. Known in the circles as the FMCG surgeon in India, right? A 3-decade-long career in FMCG, and every boardroom that Sunil has largely walked into, we're told the stock price doubles. So I hope to get a lot of that journey captured today in Qunba in 3 parts. One, revelation about you, the leader, inner circle, who and what made you, and your take and appreciation on leadership and the market. We'll go back to your to college days, the engineering boy, who then went on to study at IIM Cal. What was that moment like when you decided that the technical line is not for you?
It's not that I decided the technical line was not for me, right?
Okay.
Out of college, engineering was the thing. And I joined Siemens, medical electronics. And one of the things, so it was primarily service and a little bit of sales. But as I did my day job, I over a period of time, I figured, all this is fine, but if you really want to run a business, right, then only engineering is not good enough. You need to understand the P&L, you need to understand supply chain, you need to understand all this stuff. And that is when I realized, you know what, I need to take a step back and go back to school, learn the basics of business. And that's how I landed up doing an MBA. It's not, I still love engineering. Like my wife says, if my favorite thing, if I'm at home, is tinkering around something. Most of the times, I still remember when I went back to my grandma's place, she would have a list of things saying, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work.
Call Sunil.
Yes. So I still love engineering. It's just that you realized if you need to do business, you need to be knowing much more.
Okay. And then you got into, I think, post-campus, HUL was your training ground. How is that factory like, producing some of the best FMCG talent till today in the country? Walk us through that first week, and in that 3-year span, what did you learn in the HUL scheme of things?
So this thing in HUL is not the first week. The first week was a very comfortable week. We joined at Gulita, which is now, of course, they've sold it. So, and all the senior leaders would come down to tell you about different parts of the HUL businesses, right? And that was a big thing, saying these guys are spending time with management trainees on day one, explaining the business. And that was one big takeaway, that senior leadership needs to get involved if you've got to build a real strong pipeline. That's one. I think HUL, the basics, this thing is about first get the basics right? So you started at ground level in sales. I've actually sat on an auto cutting bills in Kanpur, right? In the heat of summer, outlet to outlet. At the end of the day, some accounting would have gone wrong and I had to put money from my pocket because the numbers didn't add up. So doing that, or the ETA stint, right? Where you went and stayed in a village for 4 weeks. no electricity, no water, no toilets, no bathrooms, right? Uh, for someone who had never been north of Nagpur, if I may call it, right? Going to rural India, figuring out what life was, learning about, this is actual rural India. I think that connects you to the Indian consumer much more. And the entire management trainee program where you do stints in marketing, sales, finance, operations, everything. I think you get a good overview of the business, which then sets you up for success in the future. The foundations, I think, are the most important thing there.
Do you think today the workforce that comes in from campus, right, this millennial, Gen Z, quite I don't know what alphabet we are on, how do you make them appreciate that this grounding is really important from sales and then the transition to marketing?
Yeah, so today's generation is a bit impatient, right? Wants to get on and rise up the career ladder faster. So yeah, that's a challenge. But the management trainee program that we've structured in Tata Consumer, for example, very, very clearly, you start in sales. Right? If you're a sales and marketing trainee, you start in sales. You will do the 2 years in. We do have attrition because of that, because lot of them go through the training program and then leave. But I would live with that attrition because the net result of what you get is far, far better. So instead of the 4 years that Unilever those days used to have the sales stint, initial sales stint, we've crunched it to 2. But that 2 years is critical because if you don't understand actually what happens at the moment of truth when a consumer is picking up your product, the execution, sales, distribution, then, I mean, later on in life, when you're making big decisions, you're second guessing how it will actually happen.
You don't have the ground reality.
Correct.
So what are 3 things that you want them to pick up when they enter that program? What are 3 things that you feel after that 2-year stint, all my management trainees, before they come into leadership roles, they must pick up? So one is obviously the pulse of the market.
One is the pulse of the market. Second is the consumer connect. And the third is that there is a middleman called the retailer who's sitting between you and the consumer, right? So unless you know how to deal with that, your history.
And then at 31, I think 3-4 year stint at HUL?
3.5.
3.5. And then you went at Coke, into what you call is the biggest lesson you learned running a business at that age, which stayed with you, right? An entire bottling plant given to you, production, HR, sales, everything. Did you ever have moments of doubt whether you were ready for that role?
Yes and no. I mean, fleetingly you would think, am I making the right decision? And they always say that you're always lonely at the top, right? So, bottling plant, you're the head. You can't go and tell people that I'm not sure.
This was in Surat.
Right? This was in Surat, yeah. You can't go and tell people I'm not sure. You've got to make a decision and then believe your gut instinct and move on with it, right? So at times, yes, am I taking the right decision? But here's the thing. I have this philosophy saying doing something is better than doing nothing, right? Yeah. So you just got to move on. Did have those doubts, but after some time, then you start rolling and then all the doubts disappear.
And then was PepsiCo.
Yes.
But you never had a stint in India with Pepsi, was it?
No. So it was Ahmedabad, Surat, and then my this thing was Mumbai, running what is now, I think, the Bisleri factory. It was the Gold Spot factory then, right? So Coke had just taken over all the bottlers, including the Parle plant in Mumbai, and I moved here to run the Mumbai business. And then for whatever, I mean, I decided to move on, and then I get this call from Pepsi, and my first instinctive reaction was, no, I can't be working for Pepsi, right? I mean, you can't have worked for Coke and then work against those guys. And no, it was Pepsi Hong Kong calling up for Vietnam. So I went up and first looked up on the map as to where is Vietnam. And yeah, one thing led to the other. Landed up in Hanoi. Actually landed up for an interview in Hong Kong. They said, cancel your return ticket, go to Ho Chi Minh City, meet the team. Ho Chi Minh City, the guys said, okay, fine, but go to Hanoi and have a look at the place. Don't come back and say you made a mistake. I keep saying it was
You said it was one of your best postings, right?
It was. It
Yeah.
was. So it was. The equation was 8% distribution, 5% share, 20 people, and $500,000 of bad debt. That was the equation. But my calculation was it can't go worse
Worse
than
than
that, right?
this.
So that's how landed up in Vietnam.
And I think your boss told you in the first week, if you don't add value day in and day out, there's no need for an expat.
Correct. So this is Varun Berry. Varun said very, very clearly, Sunil, the only reason you are here is you add value. The day you stop adding value, your history. Because expats normally, I mean, those days expats were much more common. And when you landed up, people expected you to be Superman, right? And if you're not Superman, then the local team will never
Why are you
respect
here?
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why are you here? So yeah, so every day, and that continues till now, right? Every day when I get up and go to work, it's like today you've got to add something to the business.
That Vietnam stint, tell me, did it teach you something about yourself that you feel you couldn't have learned had you stayed in India?
Yeah, I think for me the big learning was when I went for the interview in Vietnam, right? From Hong Kong to Ho Chi Minh City and met Varun. When I landed up in his office, I said the person, and this was the year 2000, and Vietnam had just come out of the embargo. So it is not the Vietnam that people see today, right? They were actually, I mean, quite constrained in their development till that point of time. There were no foreigners or expats big time that time. And my question to him was, listen, when I landed up at the airport, this guy was standing with the sign, I understand, but after that I couldn't make any conversation because I couldn't read any street signs, and it's of all written in Vietnamese, all the Roman language, but couldn't make out anything. And then, I still remember I was asked for lunch, what sort of cuisine, so I said, I eat anything. So he said, Chinese is okay. I said, yes, okay. Till I landed up, oh, this Chinese is not the Chinese that I thought it was. I said, so how do you survive in this place? And Varun's answer was, Sunil, I'm a Punjabi, right? And my last posting was Chennai. They eat rice there, not rotis. They wear lungis, not kurta pajamas. I couldn't read the signboards. I couldn't converse in Tamil. So what's different? I think that was my big aha moment, saying the big thing in India is because of the diversity, you adapt very, very quickly, right? Whether it's the South, North, etc. So adaptability to the local culture, that was the big aha moment. Vietnam, my biggest learning was, when you operate in India, okay, I mean, it might be different languages, geographies, etc. But broadly, Indians are Indians, right? So, yeah, whereas when you land up in a foreign country, you're not only dealing with business variables, you're dealing with cultural variables. So you begin to multitask on a different level as an expat. I think that was my big take out of all my foreign stints.
So, bit of a sidebar there. When communication culture is kind of a inhibitor or barrier, how do you build trust as a leader with teams?
So
What's important for leaders to keep in mind in this type of environment in terms of building trust with people?
I think fundamentally, you've got to be competent, right? Because if you don't have competency, no matter which culture, people will not respect you. That's number one. Second, you've got to respect people, right? You got to understand their culture. You got to understand that you're a foreigner who will come to adapt, not that the rest of the team adapts to you. So, and then I keep using this dialogue, right? Then you've got to find a few good men and point their noses in the right direction. Because you will have competent people in any culture, right? It's all about setting a vision, setting a plan, and then getting it rolling, respecting the team and taking them along.
So then was the next stint, I think, after Vietnam was Philippines, right? Which you said a bottler that literally flirted with bankruptcy. You had to grow the business. You barely didn't have enough of money. how do you as a leader in this scenario innovate and build confidence in a team when resources are so scarce?
So Vietnam was, as when I landed up in Vietnam, again it was Varun Berry there, and he called me employee number 3, driver, secretary and Sunil. So because Pepsi had cut out their entire franchise office, seconded all the marketing folks to the bottling team, and that was me and Varun. I think fundamentally there you learn in a resource constrained environment, the only thing which you will bring to bear is differentiation, right? Figure out how to differentiate. So innovation was critical. So one of the things we figured out was, we probably had a 20 share, 14, 15 share actually. And we realized we couldn't go up against and compete in colas, right? Because Coke was so big. So we pivoted and moved the entire business to non-carbonated, right? So we launched Sting, we launched Tropicana juice in bottles, we launched Lipton tea in bottles, Gatorade, which was and those days there was a lot of, very, very specifications specific to Gatorade, including that you had to have a 38 this thing because you needed to chug the sports drink. We convinced the global system to put it in a glass bottle, and a returnable glass bottle, which had never been done anywhere in the world. Regular Pepsi, we put in a 25% sweetener blend because we needed to take cost out, and the easiest way to take cost out is take out sugar, right? So once you are resource constrained, it forces you to look at different things to innovate. I think that's what we did in the Philippines.
You've been at the center of, one of the largest known public corporate wars, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. How does that really look like from the inside?
The big thing about the cola wars for the common consumer is most of the cola wars are in advertising, right? When everyone is taking pot shots at each other. But the real cola wars are not fought on television or on the screen. The real cola wars are fought on the street, because realize one thing, it's an impulse product. So if you walk into a store, walk into a restaurant, sit down and ask for a Coke, and the person says there's no Coke, there's Pepsi, most consumers are indifferent, right? So it is availability which makes all the difference. And therefore, the big learning is execution, and availability is key. It's cold product, merchandise well at the point of sale. I think that is the key piece. And whoever does that better will win the game.
And now from an India context, this two-way war kind of pivots to a three-way war with Coca-Cola. How do you see this panning out?
I'm not sure how this will pan out, because, the typical Reliance playbook is enter industries with high capex, suck the oxygen out, a few casualties will happen, and then come back to par, because then there is inertia to move out. Here, number one, this is not a high capex scenario. Number two, the competitors on the other side are Coke and Pepsi. It's not local players. And number three, food and beverage is, especially soft drinks, is not a decision which, it's few and far between. The decision is taken every day, right? So this whole game is going to come out differently. How it will play out, I'm not very sure, but it is not going to be what you've seen in other industries.
What do you think shaped you more in your leadership?
I think both of them. See, in HUL, getting the basics right from day one, that was key. The competency of the people you worked with or who you worked for, I think that was key. But PepsiCo, I think again, execution being key. PepsiCo, at least Asia that time, was a very entrepreneurial mindset, right? So you made,
in spite of being a global giant,
yeah. So you made
decisions in the region.
Yeah, you made decisions on business models depending on what works. We were faster off the blocks on non-carbonated beverages, saying colas is not the only game in town. People and competency. So, and someone about a few years back said, once upon a time there was G which churned out best globally. Now it is PepsiCo. I mean, so if you look around the names who've moved through PepsiCo and then gone to head different businesses, there's a whole lot of them. So working with people like that, I think then you'll learn a lot.
I think after that 15-year stint, then you made the big pivot from beverages to selling refrigerators and washing machines. What made you take that leap?
So
I know it turned out to be one of your best stints till that date, right? I know when you kind of tendered in your resignation, that stock tumbled almost 6%. We'll come to that. But what made you take that leap?
So, I'm passionate about running a business, handling a P&L, and I was not very sure the role that I was moving into, next role in PepsiCo, would give me that. So Whirlpool started talking. I think the big critical thing, it was not about refrigerators and it's still a consumer business, consumer durables. But the critical thing was that it was a listed company in India. It was a great brand, or it was a great brand when I grew up. They still had a very decent position in the market and a listed company. The one thing I had not done in my whole career was running a listed company. And I mean, this is, someone had told me, a career is about gathering different experiences. It's not about moving up the chain.
Title.
As long as you gather different experiences, ultimately they will all come together to propel you, right? And this listed company thing was the one which excited me. And that's the reason. And again, Western multinational, good ethics, professionals, good systems. I think, I said, let's give it a try.
What is different about it? Is it because your report card is more public?
Your report card is public in a listed company, A. B, in any other business, you don't have to tell your story publicly, right? In a listed company, you have to convince people that what you're saying will work, right? Your whole communication and your narrative becomes different. That's A. B, and especially now, for example, people will question you, right? Analysts, investors, etc. And you've got to answer them. Whereas in PepsiCo, I had to answer my bosses. That's about it. It was not the general public at large who would fire any and every question at you and you answering them. And the other thing is, running a P&L in any other business is different, but ultimately there is someone else who's running the balance sheet, who's making the big decisions. In a public listed company, buck stops with you, right? So whether it is cash flow, whether it is dividends, whether it is capex, everything decision you've got to make it, and you've got to convince the board and the shareholders.
So, does decisions about people also tend to kind of be a lot different when you look at them through the lens of a listed company as a leader? Do you have shorter time frames on them, patience levels lower, room for margin of error a lot lower?
Yes and no. Actually, there's not too much of a difference in the way you recruit people, etc. Because ultimately, even so, for example, in PepsiCo, I was running a business in PepsiCo, but it's still a listed company, right? There's someone. So the big thing in a listed company is, I think, this is again the Whirlpool CEO, I remember said it, you earn the right to define your long term, providing you're delivering the short term.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in a listed company, that balance comes to play, right? Because you got to deliver every quarter. Yeah. And if you deliver every quarter, then board, shareholders, investors get the confidence saying this guy can deliver, and therefore let us give him leeway on what he wants to do in the long term. I think that you learn it in a listed company very well.
What was your aha moment at Whirlpool?
I think the big thing was, I was speaking to Suresh Narayan once. Suresh, incidentally, was my first branch manager, right? And we were discussing the same thing. And the thing is, in any other consumer business, you got to change consumer habits, especially if it's a food and beverage, etc., etc. So it's a long drawn stuff. So you've got to create a great product, advertise it well, get sampling, trialing done, distribute it well, and only then the product takes off. The big thing in consumer durables, it's a 1-0 game. What you do today will determine tomorrow. It's not, you don't have to wait for 3-4 months. So if you come out with a new compressor and start talking about how that compressor is different, then the next day your sales start chugging. There is no building habits and that kind of stuff.
It's not a long tail.
No, so you bring in one big consumer important differentiator in your product, right? It's a one. For example, we put in a heater into semi-automatic machines, right? No one else had it till then, and the aha moment was that in the dead of winter, especially in North India, women, when they're washing clothes, don't want to put their hands into the cold water, right? So just putting that heater, saying it's, you know what, you'll feel comfortable doing this, that all of a sudden sales numbers change dramatically. Or you create a specific price point, capacity, this thing for either a washer or a refrigerator, next day it's selling off the shop floor. So the big aha moment was, you need to, how do I say, you need to figure out the consumer differentiation, and if you implement it right, you get results instantly. The other big thing in a durable thing is, you know, you're making a decision on launching a new product.
Okay.
It requires capex,
Yeah.
right? Because whether it's a refrigerator, and it is at least 2 to 3 years implementation. So the call that you're taking today better be right. You've got to be sure where the consumer is trending, where the products are trending, because you're
That
going to
can be
write
expensive.
$2, $3, $5 million capex,
Yeah.
which is going to pay you back 3 years later, right? But unless you do that, you're going to be left behind.
Correct.
So there's no option but to do that. But when you do that, so your future thinking ability has to be fine-tuned.
And then I think when you, somewhere around 2019-20, you decided to kind of, we'll come to that, segue into that, to the Tata Group. And when I think you went public with that announcement that stock came down 6%, what did that feel like? Was that like a vindication of the work done? Was it?
Yes and no, but I also, I mean, over a period of time, you realize ultimately businesses are not about one person.
Okay.
Right? Businesses will carry on. So when I quit Coke, I thought, oh no, Bombay, we built Bombay and you know, there's going to, no, business moved on. So yeah, there was a temporary blip, expected reaction, but then the stock came back. So because all great businesses are businesses, it's not that one or two persons.
Yeah. Okay. The institution is obviously larger than any one individual. Okay. So I think you were in San Francisco when a call came to you to consider Tata as an opportunity. And I think your initial reaction, you mentioned, was not very keen on pursuing that. Walk us through that conversation with Mr. Chandra.
So yeah, so I was...
and you were very brutally honest about Tata as a consumer business, right? Walk us through a bit of that conversation.
So actually, you know, when Egon Zehnder had called me, I had finished my Whirlpool meeting and I was spending the weekend with my daughter in San Francisco, right? And it was a Saturday morning when the call happened. My first instinctive reaction was, I don't think this is a very agile, fast-moving company which is going places, right? So I mean, my instinctive reaction was no. Why would I want to do that? So, and Shashank from Egon Zehnder said, this is precisely the reason why they're looking out, because they want to change it. Chandra wants to change the whole direction of the company. And you know what? Ultimately, the Tata name, I mean, matters in India, right? It's trust, ethics, doing the right thing. So that was how I said, okay, let me go and go through the motion. So met the NRC and then met Chandra. And you know what? The one thing about Chandra is he's a fantastic salesperson, right? So my initial reaction was, what do you want to do? He said, I want to build the premier FMCG. in the country. The Tata name has every right to succeed in the consumer
Right to win
space.
in that space.
And where we are is not where we should be. We need to change that. And I mean, the big thing about the Tata Group is, you get all the resources, you get the right ethics, the right culture, and therefore attracting good talent is not an issue. So therefore, when Chandra says, okay, I want to build the premier FMCG, let's do it together, I said, why not?
Wow. And that, I think, plunged you straight into your first challenge, which was that, yes, I think plunged you into April of 2020, which was COVID. And you're leading a company entirely on video calls, right? Largely. How did you go about that first quarter, that first 6 months when you're coming there? You've got to perform literally a surgical act with clearly Chandra's mandate. And how do you build that trust with your entire leadership team when you're largely in the thick of COVID?
So the good part was in the 3 months in which I was serving my notice period in Whirlpool, I had started interacting with people. The weekends, mostly on a Saturday, Sunday, I would spend time with the team. So I'd been down to Bangalore, done market visits in Delhi. So I was familiar with the people. I had names to faces. We had done that match. I had also met Chandra a couple of times, and I still remember telling him once, saying, I thought this was a bandage operation. This is not, it's going to be surgery, right? He said, yeah, so what? So including, I said, you know what, we'll have to make a lot of changes. He said, so what?
Wow.
Including, I said, we'll probably need to change the system and change a lot of people. He said, yeah.
So,
That was a big thing for me, saying, in my mind, it would be difficult to change systems, lay off people, especially with the Tata name on the door.
because also isn't very the DNA typical.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
But Chandra was very clear.
Yeah.
We can do all that. There's just a Tata way of doing things.
Correct. Yeah.
You treat people with respect. You have honest conversations. You make sure financially they're set up.
Yeah.
But if we need to change, we need to change. So I had walked into this assignment with confidence, saying I have his backing to start making changes. That was the good part. Yeah, video calls actually is good and bad. We overhauled the entire distribution system.
Yeah.
So the good part was people couldn't come storming into your office or shout or scream or whatever. It was at the other side of a screen, right? You can do all that you want, but that's it. And there is a off button there when you don't want to listen to them. So that was the advantage, right? We overhauled the system during COVID, and that was easy. The difficult part was you couldn't be in the market, you couldn't meet people, therefore you couldn't understand what was actually happening on the ground level. But yeah, net, I think we came out of it quite well.
Was there something about the Tata culture that surprised you that you didn't actually expect?
Actually not. I had always heard about the ethics, professionalism. The one thing which did surprise me, sort of, is the Tatas were not known to be fast-moving, ambitious, aggressive businesses. But no, I think now you can see the group overall across different businesses. I think that has come to the fore. So, but what I have not been surprised about is that the ethics, the professionalism, the quality, competency of the people, I think that is a big expectation of what I had.
Okay. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, a global culture, right? MNC culture, which you kind of have been quite particular about in your career, yet quick decision, local enabled decision making next door, right? Can you give me an example of how that plays out daily?
So this was, example has been Capital Foods acquisition, right?
Yeah.
It was, I think, December of 23, when Goldman Sachs was running the process, said, we want to make a presentation to Chandra and you. So I said, why do you need the chairman in the room? He said, because all the global guys are getting their senior decision makers to come down. I said, here, I'm going to call Balaji, who sits on my board. Both of us are going to listen to you. And if you're convinced, it's a 5-minute walk to Bombay House to convince the chairman, right? So he doesn't need to be in this. But if we are convinced, we'll get his approval to go ahead. So as simple as that. So there is the thing that I say in the Tata consumer world, in most multinationals, there is this dirty word called alignment, right? I don't have to align anyone. I have to just
Why is
make
that?
sure
Okay.
chairman and the board is
yeah.
this thing.
Okay.
There's no layers and layers
Correct.
of marketing, legal, finance, all that to convince, right? If you're convinced about the business, just get all of them together, and and there is no. The other big thing is, again, in most multinationals, they'll keep. They don't want to make a decision, so you make presentation after presentation after presentation. Here, I don't have to do that, right? It's either a yes or a no. There is no in between.
Okay. So, will you tell me, as somebody who's seen both worlds, right? The India, the one of the best Indian-run companies and the global multinationals. Do you think Indian companies and leadership can teach multinationals something about India and especially in FMCG that global multinationals haven't figured out yet?
I wouldn't say haven't figured out, but what happens in most multinationals is bureaucracy steps in, right?
Okay.
And to win in the Indian market, you got to be agile. You got to innovate and be agile and change very quickly. Multinationals are loath to do that because there's so much bureaucracy. So the resistance to change is huge. So that's one. Second is, the thing which multinationals, some of them have got it right, but many of them haven't. India is not a price market. India is a value market, right? The Indian consumer will pay for the price value equation has to matter. It's not the lowest price product, right? That if companies understand, then you're in a sweet spot.
And flip that the other way, do you think Indian leadership can learn something, given that you've seen the global context, from Western and European counterparts about leadership?
Ambition, spreading your wings globally, making products for the world. So I think there Indian leaders can definitely learn from Western multinationals.
So from the career angle, let's pivot to our next section, which is Sunil D'Souza, the leader. What does a typical day in the life of Sunil D'Souza look like?
First of all, there's no typical day. Every day is like something or the other is going on. And with Tata Consumer actually is a slightly complex business, right? We've got international, different markets. We've got foods, beverages, ready to drink. We've got Starbucks. We've got plantations. So multiple lines of business. So every day is different. But most of the days I would get up, go through the digital. My day starts early, so I go around one round on all the digital news, go for my run. That's important. I spend about an hour.
Every day? Most days?
Weekdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weekends,
Okay.
I sleep in. So, and then normally I'm out of the house by 8:15 in the office. People come in about 9 o'clock. So the first 45 minutes to 1 hour,
yourself.
I get to myself, all the pending backlog done, anything that is missing or important for the day, put on the calendar. And yeah, then the rest of the day, I normally am home by about 7:38. But once in a while, depending if there is US calls, etc., then it goes on late. But I'm in bed by around 9, read for about 15-20 minutes. And yeah, that's a typical day.
Okay. 3 words that describe your leadership style. Just 3 words.
Cliched 3 words, I would say strategy and execution.
Okay.
Because, execution without strategy is directionless.
Yeah.
Strategy without execution will get you nowhere, right? So I think the critical piece is it doesn't end with. A lot of people think when you reach the top, it's all that you've got to devise strategy. That's half the job.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure you've got execution buttoned up. I think that is the critical piece.
Okay. How does Sunil run an effective meeting? What does a meeting with Sunil D'Souza look like?
So I would say you need to stick to the starting time and ending time, number one. Number two, I hate it when topics start to meander. I would bring it back saying, guys, we are here to do this. And at the end of every meeting or a discussion, I mean, again, cliched, everyone agrees, disagrees, or agrees to disagree, and move on, right? You keep moving. So there would be time for banter and gossip and all that, but not in focused meetings.
3 must-haves that Sunil, if you have to work on Sunil D'Souza's leadership team.
Team player,
Okay.
high intellectual capability,
Okay.
and ability. I would say there are two these things: ability to do the 60,000 feet and the 6 feet, or as I call it, so you need to do strategy and execution, and other is you need to have both the telescopic side as well as the microscopic side, right? So you need to see the big picture as well as this finer detail. So you would see the TCPL team as being able to do that.
One trait of a good leader that you feel you could adopt more of?
And this is a feedback I've got from multiple this thing. Reward and recognition, right? Give people more pats on the back, praise people, make sure you inspire not only by other actions, but make sure that they feel recognized. That I think, I'm conscious of it, try to do it, but I could definitely do more.
What's been a very significant failure or a setback in a 3-decade career that you reflect upon that has taught you a lot more about human beings and people?
Failures I've had at multiple stages, right? And the biggest thing is you figure out that the net result of failure, people can go in either of two ways. Fear of failure, or saying, okay, this failed, let me try something else. So people who are persistent, people who can take those setbacks and keep trying, I think those are the people who will come out more successful. So for me, people need to embrace failure, not be risk averse. So you need to go out and take those risks. I mean, like I said, in Whirlpool, you needed to take that decision of capex, which will bear fruit 3 years hence. But unless you did that, you're going to be staring into space at a point in time. Or, for example, we ripped out and relayed the entire distribution system, and we've done that 3 or 4 times over in Tata Consumer, right? Even as we speak, we are going to the next phase. The point is, you need to keep trying different things. Sometimes you'll fail, but you move on.
What's something that you wish you knew a little bit earlier in your career about leadership?
Basically, a career is a marathon. It's not a 100-meter sprint. And in that marathon, you got to keep accumulating different experiences, right? And have patience. Because if you accumulate those experiences in the rightful manner and you're playing for the long haul, things will happen, right? You don't need to be impatient. Earlier in my career, for example, a lot of times I was impatient, but then you figure out that's how life is, right? I mean, you got to play the long game.
Okay. If you're faced with 2 equally good candidates for a role, what is that one question that you would judge them on and decide who to pick?
So, assuming that intellectually both of them are in the same place, then my instinct would be to pick the one who, and I'll describe this way, the one who will put the shoulder to the wheel with the team.
Okay. What is that?
The ability to be first among equals, not coming across as a boss, right? Someone who will work with the team, be in the trenches and get the troops going, rather than be the bada saab who's telling the team what to do. I think, but that you got to have a gut about, is this person going to do that or not? But I would pick the one with whom I have the bigger feeling that this is the one person.
Okay. And today, if you were to, in Tata Consumer, take one really significant risk in business today, what would it be?
we've at Tata Consumer, we've taken enough risks. We've ripped out the entire distribution system, relayed it. We've changed a lot of people and brought in some good people. We've launched a lot of organic products, and we've done acquisitions and some big acquisitions, right? So we've been taking risks at Tata Consumer. So if there's one thing which comes to mind, no, but the culture that we are trying to build is it's okay to take risks. It's okay to fail as well, right? And if you fail, you learn something and keep moving on. You get an improved version of yourself.
What is the biggest cultural difference you think you've pivoted Tata Consumer culture towards? One or two?
I think number one is
Culture-wise, yeah.
execution is important.
Okay.
And execution at speed is important. So culture-wise, I'll give you this example, right? And I keep saying FMCG is actually a relatively simple business.
Yeah.
It's create a great product, advertise the hell out of it, distribute it well, and keep innovating for the next version, right? Innovation, we were at 0.8% of sales when we started off, right? And this is sales from products launched
At a
in the
group
last
level
3
or
years.
Tata Consumer?
Tata Consumer. That this is defined as sales from products launched in the last 3 years.
Okay.
Today we are 5.5, 5.2, 5.3. 5 is, in my mind, dust in class. And we've got here by saying, we've got to drive innovation, we've got to drive differentiated innovation, and we've got to drive innovation which matters. I think, and here, it's not only the R&D team, right? Because the R&D team creates the product mandated by marketing.
Yeah.
And it is manufactured by operations and distributed by sales, right? All of them have to be in sync to get this engine rolling. So execution at scale, at speed, I think that is what Tata Consumer today is.
Okay. So, segueing to our next segment a little wider in terms of Tata Consumer and products. India's always largely been a tea country, right? And you're betting big on coffee. What do you see that others could be missing?
It's not, others are also seeing the same thing. I think it's ultimately boils down to who will execute better.
Okay.
And you're absolutely right. India, British colony, and therefore tea drinking country. And across the globe, you'll see coffee is trending and tea is not. So it will happen in India. And India, it will happen both out of home and in home. So we are playing both sides.
Okay.
We've got Starbucks in
on
the
the
out of home and the in home. And in home, the one thing I still remember is, and this because I had seen a few theses when in the initial days itself, the tea business of Unilever was up for sale globally. And there, one of the hypotheses was that the market leader in tea had not done what the market leaders in coffee had done, innovating in formats, flavors, packages, etc., etc. So the most important thing that we are doing in coffee is we are playing the 360. So I've got instant coffee, I've got coffee beans, I've got ready to drink coffee. We're coming out with pods, we've got drip overs. So we're playing the whole game, and that is the reason why we are growing faster than anyone else.
Sunil, as somebody who's seen this, and India, especially the India context, FMCG is a hyper-competitive market. What do you think separates brands that last decades from those that fade away? Especially advice to D2C founders, etc. What do you think is that crucial difference in the two? Brands that just fade away, passing fade, and those that last decades?
I think 2 or 3 points there, right? Brands which connect with the consumer.
Okay, one.
Solve a consumer
Genuine
pain point,
okay.
right? And therefore build trust. I think those are important parameters. So a lot of the big brand names that you'll hear this thing, they have done that over the ages. Never take the consumer for granted, right? If there is a particular reason why the consumer is picking you, there is a particular price value equation that is right, never ever deviate from that. The minute you deviate from that, you double cross the consumer, you'll be history.
And someone for whom both channels are important, right? the rise of modern trade, e-commerce, and the traditional kirana. Do you see that changing, or will they always be the traditional kirana? Will they always be still the backbone of this economy?
So, the channels are moving fast, and I can give you our numbers, right? When early days of the pandemic, e-commerce was 2%, 10% was modern trade, and about 3% was institutions. Rest
This is blended across
blended,
all.
yeah. So about 85-87% of the business was Kiranas. Fast forward last quarter, right? 21% was quick commerce and e-commerce, 16% was modern trade, and about 5% was institutions. So Kiranas from that 85% are now down to about 55-60%. I don't think Kiranas are going to go away in a hurry. They are going to be around. It's just that the percentage from Kirana stores will come down. And I keep saying, right, this whole rise of quick commerce.
Yeah.
There was always quick commerce in the form of the neighborhood Kirana, right?
Who came quick.
Yeah, so you either made a phone call
Yeah.
or you lowered a bucket to that store and you put the... So Indians are used to quick commerce. It's just that today it's on the other side of a smartphone, right? So the Kiranas will also adapt. How exactly the future will shape out, I'm not very sure, but Kiranas are not going to go away in a hurry, not in a country like India.
Okay. So it brings me to a little bit to the same question we spoke about at the start. So then is physical retail experience and expertise, which is where you ground a lot of the initial students that come in from the batch in terms of getting the on the ground knowledge, is that becoming worthless?
No, I wouldn't say so. And again,
Or it's losing its value. Worthless could be an extreme value. If that channel is kind of coming down, you mentioned the connect with the Kirana store, that retailer, the person in between. Do you think then that's really fading away in terms of expertise?
Not necessary. It is, the Kiranas are still going to be around for some time. As a percentage, they'll reduce. Modern trade is going to be around, right? It's not going away in a hurry. So you need to learn how to execute, how the channel behaves, how to deal with retailers, etc. Without that, you won't go forward. And if you look at some of the best people who operate in the e-commerce space, etc., the grounding has been in physical retail, right? They understand what makes it tick. It's just that they translate it to the digital world very quickly then.
But Gen Zs are ordering groceries without, seeing tomatoes. They're buying clothes without trying them on. Do you feel that understanding is becoming a little more irrelevant?
Not necessary. And it's not only Gen Zs.
Yeah.
My wife
Yeah.
used to be
Fair point.
saying, no, I need to touch, feel
Yeah.
the vegetables.
Correct.
I can't. But today, everything, it's big basket,
Yeah.
right? It will always, business will still be a mix of offline and online. And therefore, you need to understand the offline piece as well at ground level.
Let's come into our second section, which is appreciation about leadership. Tell me, how does a CEO turn people to believe in a cause, especially if you're not a founding CEO, you're not, right? You've come in, as you did, from Whirlpool into the Tata Group. How do you get people to rally around you and believe in a cause?
I think this was a relatively easier job because people want to win, right? And as long as you tell them, I'm here
To make you.
to make you win, and this is how we will do it, right? You need to communicate your game plan. And I still remember the first call which I had with the sales guys. I said, guys, for me, output metrics are a result. I value the input metrics, right? I want the number of stores to be visited, the bills to be cut, the lines in the bill. So the other side,
The output is just the
is-
outcome of
yeah.
all the input that you have.
If after doing all this you don't get results, it's not your fault, right? So I still remember one of the sales guys asking me, oh, we're going to become a real FMCG company. So they knew what it was all about, just that they had not done it. But they also knew that if we do that, we will win, right? So as long as you create that environment and show people that you're here to win and you'll be in the trenches with them and you want them to win, I think it's not a difficult job.
Do you think today's CEOs are measured differently on parameters versus, let's say, a decade or 2 decades ago? And do you think that will change a decade from today? What will they be measured on?
I don't think the fundamentals of how to measure a CEO has changed. It's just that the environment which the CEO has to operate in today is dramatically different. The speed of change in today's this thing, whether it is consumer behavior, whether it is channels, whether it is differentiation with products or simple information. I mean, at the speed at which information moves, that is different. So today's CEO has to adapt to the external variables far faster. But other than that, I don't think too many things have changed.
Do you think with AI coming on board, the new buzzword, do you think that's going to make decision making? How do you think that's going to change from the leader's point of view?
I would say you're going to be able to crunch information faster.
Okay.
You're going to get what I call an agent to always be with you when you're working. So your ability to process information and make decisions will be faster. How this whole thing shapes up, I think the jury is out. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think fundamental decision making is going to change dramatically, but you'll always have a always on assistant with you for anything and everything. In the front end of the business, etc., it's the same thing that is going to happen. I mean, I think the biggest benefit will come when AI enables you to make a decision, crunches information, crunches data, and enables you to make a decision faster.
Yeah. But what about the person in that store who's worried, or what are you telling your workforce about AI?
So right now, the big thing I see is, I think the world is going to move towards agentic AI, where everyone has got a buddy sitting at their back to help them do whatever. People are thinking about what happens. The good part is we are in a food and beverage business, right? So it's not that things can happen on tablet. You still need someone to create a product, someone to distribute that product. So from that perspective, I don't think too many changes.
What's the most common myth people have about leaders and CEOs that you'd like to clarify?
That they know everything. They know everything.
Okay.
CEOs and leaders don't. And the best leaders are people who are extremely self-aware, know their strengths and weaknesses, know what they're good at, what they're bad at. Most importantly, know what they know and know what they don't know. And have the humility to go ask for help. I think that is the one critical piece.
What's the most common piece of career advice that you hear people give others but you completely disagree with?
For me, the big career advice is a career is a series of milestones. A career is gathering different experiences, which then you put together to propel you to the top.
How does Sunil give feedback to his CXOs?
For me, what you see is what you get. Right? So,
plain speaking.
I don't wait for the mid-year calibration or the end of year. As and when I see things, I will tell you upfront. You might like it, you might not like it. And other thing is, this is, I'm giving the feedback to you as a person, and it's nothing to do with how we will judge you. Right? It's just, if you do these 2-3 things, or if you don't do these 2-3 things, you'll be a better person at the end of it.
Sunil, tell me, what does a leader do with a superstar who delivers results but is culturally toxic? What do you do?
It's not tenable, right? Like I said, a business is about a team. A business is about a set of people working together. So I would rather give up the superstar. I would rather have 10 ordinary people rather than have one superstar. Because ultimately, business is not about one person. Business is about creating a team which is lasting and can deliver in the longer term. That superstar, the minute the superstar is gone, it could fall apart. So I would rather take team players and build.
Okay. And I know you spoke about this earlier where, you kind of had the mandate to bring in new people, retool the team. How does a leader go about balancing empathy on one side, yet having to take tough calls in terms of sometimes having to let people go? How do you square that up?
So this was, I remember very early, we had the situation to deal with where we have got a tea extractions unit at Munnar. And there are 3 or 4 different unions there, and they were trying strong arm tactics, right? At which point of time we said there is an issue and they went on strike. So I was in a bit of a panic saying, I just landed up hardly here and you know what, this is already on strike. But I still remember Ajit, who works with me, he reminded me that R&T's first, I would say, trial by fire was the Tata Motors strike. And he used a statement then which I keep using. You got to be fair, not necessarily nice, right? So whichever situation you're dealing with, whether it is unions, whether it is people, whether it is customers, as long as you're being fair, I'm good. If people say you're not nice, that's fine. But I did the right thing. I think that is the critical action for me.
Last segment, inner circle, who and what made you? Firstly, what is the type of advice after 3 decades of having seen this and led? What do you go to? What does somebody like you go to advice for, and who do you go to? And what do you seek advice on?
Oh, I have enough, say, mentors, leaders I can lean on, right? I've had the privilege of working with some great people, and I keep in touch. So even now when there is an issue, something, I would bounce off ideas. And it is not only, I have even juniors whom I bounce off ideas with, saying, what do you think, how do you think the organization will react to if we do this or if we don't do this, etc. I do this test marketing, I call it bouncing off among different constituencies before moving on. So I would say that would be a key way in which I operate.
Okay. What is the most brutal feedback you've received about yourself? Who did it come from and what did they tell you?
So this was, I would say, I was still in the Philippines, and PepsiCo has this system of people planning, periodic check-ins. Every excom, mancom, depending on what it is, decides on people below, on very, very tangible. There is the 360, the appraisals, the discussion in the room, different viewpoints. So one of the feedbacks I got was at that meeting when Sunil was discussed, one of the people said, you know what, Sunil, I don't think will go far, right? Because he walks, talks, behaves like a salesman, right? And I stepped back and said, what does that mean, right? And after that, I made 4 or 5 tweaks to the way I approached communication, dealing with people, dealing with this thing. I think that was a game-changing experience.
Who is inspiring you right now?
Who is inspired? Multiple this thing. There are enough, like I said, I've had the privilege of working with some great leaders. I still look up to those people, and every time I have to make a decision, a lot of times what would this person have done in this situation? I think I keep going back, drawing back to my experiences with them and saying, oh, okay, this person would have probably done this, then weigh that before acting.
One lesson that you've learned from HUL, from Whirlpool, from PepsiCo, that has stayed with you even till today?
Focus on the consumer. Ultimately, everything is focused on the consumer. So that's one. The second one is everything starts with revenue, right? The P&L, the first line is revenue. you can always build margin and correct costs, etc., later on. But if you don't have a business top line, the rest of it doesn't matter. Yeah. So if you see all these companies maniacally focused on the front end, on execution, on the consumer, and driving revenue, I think this would be my key takeaways.
One lesson from Chandra that stayed with you for these last 5 years.
Be decisive. Be logical and be decisive. And again, the Tata Group philosophy, you need to be fair, not necessarily nice.
One thing from Mr. Chandra you'd like to imbibe in your leadership?
Oh, his ability, look at it. I mean, there's a lot of times when I go for a meeting, I'm sitting on the 4th floor in the lobby waiting, and there's motors going in, coming out, steel going in, TCS. His ability to distill information from different sectors and be crystal clear on every sector, what makes a difference and what you should do. I think that is something I really admire.
Who do you think's been the greatest influence on your journey as an FMCG leader? Who is that one person or few that you think has had a very pivotal role in your shaping up as a leader in the FMCG space?
So, like I said, multiple people. So
One that you feel has kind of had quite a pivotal role.
I would probably say I had this boss called Qasim Khan. Qasim's ability to zoom out and zoom in, right? That was phenomenal. Till Qasim became my boss, and that time I was heading the Philippines. I was used to people who would call you 3 times a day about what's happening. With Qasim, I would go through maybe a month sometimes without talking, because his point was very clear. Sunil, I put you there because I trust you. You don't have to do any CY, right? You don't have to do for information. I'm not interested. But if you need me, let me know. I'll be there in 24 hours. If you need me, pick up the phone and we can talk. But you don't have to keep giving me information for the sake of information. I think that was a big, that also forced you to be on your own, think on your own. You're not constantly looking for advice from boss or orders from boss on what to do. That was a pivotal moment.
Okay. So success in all your stints, Whirlpool, you've taken the stock up almost 100%, 51,000 crores to 1,16,000 crores in a 5-year span, 9,000 revenue to 15,000 odd. What still keeps you going and that chase every day? What's the end goal for somebody like Sunil D'Souza?
I don't think there is an end goal. I mean, that's the whole thing. There is, like I said, you don't arrive. The day you arrive, you're history, because it's a treadmill, you've got to keep on going. Chandra's initial, when he first spoke to me, he wants to build the premier FMCG company in India.
That's
right?
your relentless work.
So, and if he and the board have trusted me to do that, I need to do that. So every day it needs to be one more step, one more step, one more step.
Excellent. And finally, before we come to our rapid fire, what will the next version of your career look like? What's the next challenge that you're setting out for career-wise?
I don't think right now I'm thinking about, right now it's about continuing to build Tata Consumer into a stronger, better, multi-category FMCG company. I think that is my focus.
Okay. And closing question, if there is a billboard out there and you could put out a message to millions of young budding campus students coming into their first sales job, what would that message be?
It's the same thing, right? You got to, don't get impatient in your careers. Things are not going to be, you don't necessarily need to move up in a straight line. You got to gather different experiences, collect it together. There is, I think, there was someone who said, in the early part of your life, it's all about learning. Earning will come later. Don't get impatient. But if you don't learn enough, you will not earn at the end of it.
Superb. With that, we're going to come straight into our final section. I've got exactly 3 minutes to go, and which is rapid fire. The first thing that comes into your mind, one word, short, one word, one line answers. Okay. Okay, Sunil, let's go quick fire with Qunba. One thing you've learned always to do as a CEO.
Support the team.
One thing you've learned never to do as a CEO.
Shouting and screaming is not going to get you anything.
The hardest thing about being a CEO is?
Trusting your gut and making a decision.
Your last ChatGPT prompt.
That was just 2 days back. This was about, I wanted to find out the relationship between two promoters in a company. Yeah, so I didn't get the answer, but at least I got their backgrounds.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Best career advice you ever received?
Okay, this is, it was from a colleague and in Philippines saying, you're here because it's you. Now, as you go ahead in life, don't try and change. Because a lot of times you have the temptation to be someone else. Don't do that.
Tea or coffee? Be honest.
Start with coffee, but then move to tea.
One habit that's non-negotiable in your daily routine?
My gym or running early in the morning.
The country you've worked in that surprised you the most?
Philippines.
Higher for skill, higher for intelligence, or higher for attitude?
Attitude.
A book that changed how you think about leadership?
Outliers. The 10,000-hour rule.
An Indian brand, not yours, that you quietly, secretly admire?
Multiple things. Mahindra Group, for example.
One thing that's been on your personal to-do list for the longest time?
Fly a plane.
Mumbai, Hanoi, Manila, Kuala Lumpur, which city felt like home the most?
Every city after you got to live in it for some time.
Okay. One food you can't live without?
I would say Mangalorean cuisine.
What's a skill you're trying to get better at?
Reward and recognition.
The app you use the most on your phone?
LinkedIn.
The one question you ask in every job interview?
Why me?
Two important traits that Mr. Chandra looks for in his leaders?
I would say both EQ and IQ.
One Indian brand that deserves to be global?
Tata.
The first thing you do in the morning, the last thing you do at night?
First thing, have a cup of coffee. Last thing is read a book.
Your most prized personal possession other than your family?
I would say it used to be my motorcycle.
Okay. A cheesy song you often caught humming in the car?
All sorts of songs.
Your secret daydream?
Secret daydream. That we are already the largest FMCG.
Wow. After your smartphone gadget, what's the one gadget you can't live without?
iPad.
The most aha moment of your career?
Joining the Tata Group.
A time or period of your life you'd like to relive?
I would say my Malaysia stint.
Why is that?
Handling multiple countries, different business models, completely different cultures. Yeah, it was probably my biggest learning experience. Right from joint ventures to company owned, we opened Myanmar after the embargo, sold businesses, created new JVs, everything.
And final question for today in the rapid fire. Sunil D'Souza's legacy will be?
Having created the premier FMCG company for the Tata Group.
Superb. With that, Sunil, thank you very, very much for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure having you at Qunba.
Thank you.
And very, very insightful take on your on leadership and a bit on your leadership journey as well. Thank you for doing this with us.
My pleasure.